Hello and welcome back to the Growth Dialogue by Deutsche. I am Pooja Kalyan and this is where we sit down with leaders and experts to unpack the big shift shaping Indian economy and businesses. Today's conversation is one I'm personally excited for. We are asking, what is India really fighting for in global economy? Is it simply about climbing the rankings and becoming the third largest economy? Or is it also about recognition, sustainability, and growth? To dive into this, I'm joined by Teeson C.J, Professor of Economics at Jain University. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Pooja. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Let me start with the big question. When we ask, what is India really fighting for in global economy? What does it mean for you?
Actually, India is fighting for a global scenario as it provides a lot of job opportunities in the domestic economy as well as global economy and also in the international trade. So we are actually playing a very important role. As though we have to improve our financial side and a lot of financial vulnerabilities and macroeconomic instabilities that we are actually facing. Even we are actually continuing to the growth achievement, but the problem is that we are actually facing this type of vulnerabilities, especially in the currency fluctuations and the financial vulnerabilities. So these are the main challenges that we actually undergo in the global economy. As though we are actually Trump imposes a tariff. That's a geopolitical confusion that is uncertainty. So this uncertainty that we have to go through. Definitely, India is a large global driver of an economy. It creates a lot of international market and job opportunities as well.
So you're telling that India is fighting to be the recognized as a global growth leader.
Yeah, India is actually trying to achieve a growth leader because I am actually saying that we are in the Southeast Asian nation while we are actually fighting for an international global scenario. So, in the terms of global GDP, our financial sector is actually dominant, and the our financial sector is dominant. Not only that, but also we are actually dominant in terms of financial services and high professional services we are providing. So we are having the large pool of talents and large young population. So that is our actually demographic dividend that we can take a favor of that.
So you were telling me that India is global growth leader. So let me ask you, where do you think India needs a powering rise, and also what is the area that we need little bit more acceleration?
Definitely, India is a growth leader, but at the same time, we have to be self-sufficient.
Mhm.
We have to be self-sufficient in such a way that we have to be more careful in providing such kind of innovations and research and development and technological exposure in the agriculture sector, because I already said the majority of Indian population is actually depending on agriculture as their major livelihood. So 60% of total population is actually depending on this agriculture sector. But the problem is that actually, unfortunately, only less than 30% of total GDP is actually coming from agriculture sector. That's why definitely uh,
Improve
we
on.
have to improve. Okay, we have to make more innovations in the agriculture sector.
So you were telling about agrotech. Can you please
Yes,
elaborate about it?
agrotech is means we have to incorporate the technology in the agriculture sector because agriculture is basically the
As we
traditionally
are
it is an
agro-based
labor
country.
intensive sector.
Yeah.
But at the same time, labor is actually, if you are providing the labor, definitely that will be loose industry.
Hmm.
So if you are incorporating the machines, if you are incorporating the technology, definitely that will be profitable. Then we can many youth that can come into this sector if you are
So
providing
that
such kind
opens
of
many more
technology.
job opportunities
Yes,
as
job
well.
opportunities as well.
Since you mentioned that we need more acceleration and we need to be more self sufficient, what about? I would like to ask about India's ambitious goal of becoming world's third largest economy by 2030. What risk could derail this ambitious goal?
So we attain the growth momentum at the 6% or 7% rate economic growth. So we are fastest economy, and we are actually we have an exposure in the international economic scenario.
Mhm.
The main problem that we are actually facing in the unemployment and inflation, even though inflation is actually less 2%, but unemployment is actually that is a hindrance to maintain our growth or
Mhm.
sustainability, to attain the sustainability. That's why the unemployment, the how to tackle the unemployment, that is a big question that we are actually facing that. because there are labor intensive industry and capital intensive industry. So now we are actually promoting the capital intensive industry.
Mm.
Labor intensive industry provides many number of job opportunities, but at the same time, unfortunately, we are actually focusing on the capital intensive industry. I'm saying that, for example, textile sector and marine sets. So this actually provides a lot of job opportunities to the people rather than the machines. Definitely, that kind of sector we have to we when we achieve the 2047 the growth achievement. Definitely, this is the challenge, that is unemployment, because we are having the large pool of talented people,
Mhm.
youth population. Definitely, we have to channelize their skill and talent to achieve that goal by we are attaining this 2047.
So, moving on to the next question. Recently, Prime Minister's office held a meeting to push India's own big four consulting firms, a move to scale domestic consulting firms to rival against PwC, Deloitte, EY, and KPMG. How could this focus on growing consulting companies in India impact the broader economy and India's ambitious goals?
About Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a large vision to improve the self-reliant policy. As a part of this policy, he wants to reduce the dependence of domestic companies
Indian
for the
companies.
Indian companies, for international foreign companies, for the advisory and large scale projects, the business consultancy. In the long term, he wants to reduce this dependence, and we have to scale our Indian companies in such a way that let the foreign companies that have to depend on our companies for their advisory part, and that means taking the
Services.
consultancy projects. So the advisory firms and audit services, that has to be framed in such a way that we have to improve our skill, we have to improve our quality
Meet the
in the
global
in
standards.
making the global standards. Definitely, we have to make such kind of ambience in such a way that these Indian companies, especially for making this kind of services, financial services, advisory firms and projects, okay, that has to be rooted here in the our national economy rather than the depending on a large
Foreign.
scale foreign companies. So Indian companies has to trust our national these advisory firms for their consultancy business service. Then only we can reduce the
Dependency.
dependency of foreign companies for consultancy services, and to attain the goal of self-reliance as declared by Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
If India builds its own big four, it could shift cost, quality, trust for consulting among sectors. Since you mentioned that, let's put India among its peers China, Vietnam, Indonesia. How do you compare its global competitiveness?
Actually, India is actually competent in terms of providing a lot of job opportunities in service sector. In we are looking at the GDP, global GDP, around 55% of GDP is actually contributed from the service sector economy. So we are well versed in the service sector, but at the same time we are not much sound in the financial sector and manufacturing or industry sector. While we are comparing the Vietnam, the Indonesia, they are actually well versed in the manufacturing or industry sector. So if you are depending on them, suppose we are actually importing a lot of manufacturing goods from this type of economies. So if you want to, that means improve our self sufficiency. We have to grow on our self sufficiency. Definitely, we have to be careful in achieving this type of manufacturing sector rather than the service sector. Especially why we are actually back in the manufacturing or industry sector, that is mainly because of lack of infrastructure facilities. While we are comparing the China economy, while we are pushing for a economy, especially in the service sector, we are back in the manufacturing sector. That is mainly because of we are not having much sound infrastructure facilities, especially transportation structure, the telecommunication sector. When we compare to the China economy, they are very well versed in the infrastructure provided. So if you are improving our infrastructure facilities, definitely we can improve the manufacturing or industry sector. Then we can compete with the China's economy.
So you're telling that we have to speed up
We have to speed up the infrastructure facilities.
to stay competitive in this
Yes,
with these peers.
competitiveness. That is a global competitiveness.
Another piece of this puzzle is actually startups and high growth ventures. What role do they play in India's global positioning?
Startup and global ventures actually the dominant in the financial sector economy. If you are actually growing in that term, especially in the context of a digitalized economy, we are providing this type of services, business process outsourcing, ITES related services in a very efficient manner. That is because of we are actually becoming a competitive advantage because we are incorporating the digital economy here. So we are more digitalized and we are saying that fintech, just like UPI and PhonePay, GPay, this kind of financial services we are providing that could reach to the people in a very good, efficient manner.
Mhm.
So that's our competitive advantage in the financial sector economy. And here the startups and ventures, private equity ventures, that's playing a very important role in the financial economy. It's a backbone of our any economy in the global world.
So fintech is booming, that's what you're trying to say.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. India is the third largest economy in terms of startup, drawing billions of funds from the foreign market. So especially we are drawing the global investors see India as an economy, the next global economy in the world. Definitely this type of startups and stand-ups, these are actually providing a lot of job opportunities and making this type of global competitive advantages in our economy in the global scenario. Actually. So when we are talking about the startups, many companies just like edutech companies, health tech companies, digital platforms, especially this type of startups gives a lot of job opportunities as well.
So you were talking about digital innovations. What do you have to say about digital India in that aspect?
Digital innovation is actually the solution for the domestic as well as international or global markets. So here, digital economy, when we are looking at the startups, like especially in the edutech and health tech and mobility, these are all actually scaling the international borders. So that is a competitive that makes a competitive edge in the international scenario or the international financial market as well. When we look into the fintech services like UPI, Google Pay, Phone Pay, these are the financial services that can be fetched the financial accessibility and that could reach into the global level, and even the common people that can easily access this type of financial services if you are incorporating this type of digital that means digital infrastructure.
Since you mentioned the startups, I think that's where the consulting matters. At Deutsche, we actually suggest to startups to strengthen their governance and compliance at the early stage itself. That's mainly because the investors look for the structure as much they look for the innovation.
Yeah, the startups are actually looking at not only the compliances, because the government provides a lot of regulations. So nowadays, the government is actually minimum government and the maximum governance, and the startups are actually looking at the less regulations and providing such kind of incentives to make a boost to the startups in further way.
So, moving on to the next question. So, do you really think India's global ambitions really align with its domestic priorities?
India is achieving the global market. India is actually pushing the global level, but in the same time, we are not actually, we have to focus on the rural upliftment, rural development actually, because the main problem that we are actually undergoing, that is actually the regional disparities. If you are in the global market, if you are in the dominant the global market, but at the same time, we are actually, the majority of our Indian population is depending on agriculture, and 6 lakh people are actually living in the 6 lakh villages. So this is a major hurdle to attain the balanced development or balanced growth strategy. If you are going ahead in the global scenario, but at the same time you have to be back in terms of rural development and the welfare of the people. So the balanced development for attainment of the balanced development or balanced growth strategy, we have to uplift the rural people. We have to tackle we have to tackle in the regional disparity in the society in our economy. So when we talk about inclusivity, We are actually facing a lot of challenges, especially poverty. Poverty is not a unidimensional one today's. It is multidimensional one
Mm.
because we are having the poverty in terms of education, and we are having the poverty in terms of health and in terms of standard of living. So Nidhi Ayog actually says that around 20 lakh people are actually still living in the poverty,
Mhm.
and especially multidimensional poverty. So here, for attaining the inclusivity, definitely we have to lift these people out of this multidimensional poverty, then to achieve the balanced growth or balanced development. So we have to take the strategy of balanced development rather than the unbalanced growth or unbalanced development. When we develop in the global economy, definitely we have to be the goals that has to be framed in such a way that this type of regional disparity, these type of challenges that we are actually facing, especially multidimensional poverty, regional disparity, that has to be completely washed out. Then only we can achieve the balanced growth. Having attained a growth path, while we are talking about inclusivity, we are lagging in terms of rural development. We are lagging in terms of rural welfare, and many millions of people are actually left out of the rural development. So when we are actually growing in terms of development in the global scenario, definitely we have to make a policies in align with this type of domestic targets. Especially the Nidhi Ayog actually mentioned that these people are actually multidimensional poverty. We are actually facing the multidimensional poverty, especially education poverty, health poverty, and the standard of living. When we attain the global development, such kind of policies the government has to frame in align with the rural upliftment and rural welfare.
So, balancing between the high speed urban growth and rural upliftment is the key factor here. Let's talk about infrastructure. Ports, logistics, energy. How critical is modernization here?
So while we are talking about infrastructure, it is actually backbone of our Indian economy and global economy as well. If you are comparing the Vietnam, other Southeast Asian nation, we are actually back in terms of providing such kind of
Infrastructure.
infrastructure facilities like ports, logistics, and other kind of railways. So these are all we are actually back. Definitely that we have to improve or we have to scale up such kind of infrastructure facilities. Then
So, it
only
sounds
industries.
critical.
Yeah, it sounds critical in terms of definitely we have to improve this type of infrastructure facilities as well. And also, when we talk about ease of doing business, the industries look as when other industries from other countries or investors from other countries, global investors, they are actually looking at the ease of doing business in India. Ease of doing business in India is actually important in terms of providing this type of infrastructure. So infrastructure plays a very important role in the ease of doing business.
So, moving on to the next question. The pandemic actually reshaped the supply chain worldwide. Where does India stand in the new China plus one scenario?
In fact, this is a big question. There are actually three parts I have to answer. It's a big difficult task. So while we are talking about the China market, nowadays the global investors are actually taking a diversification from the China market, and India market is a alternative hub for creating this type of opportunity to take a competitive advantage, overtaking China economy. So here in the India is actually dominant in the pharmaceutical sector, industrial sector, and the ITS related services. So definitely India can take much dominance in these type of services or sectors. But at the same time, unfortunately, we are facing a lot of challenges and hurdles, especially infrastructure that we are actually backward. That's why our manufacturing or industrial growth is actually backward while we are comparing the China economy. So when we are actually growing into the alternative hub in the global scenario, definitely we have to improve or we have to scale up this infra as well. Then only we can overtake China economy, and we can reduce our dependency ratio. We can reduce the import, this type of manufacturing goods from the China and other nations. So we can achieve the self-sufficiency in our global economy. So moving on to the next part, when we are talking about bottlenecks, India is facing several challenges due to these bottlenecks. Especially, we are actually back in the infrastructure. While we are comparing to the China, Vietnam, and other Southeast Asian nations, they are front runner in the domestic industrial manufacturing sector. That's we are actually front runner in the domestic sector or manufacturing industry sector. That is because of high sound infrastructure facilities they are providing in
As
their
you
economy.
mentioned earlier.
Yes, yes, as I mentioned earlier. But at the same time, in Indian economy, we are facing this challenge because infrastructure that we are actually pathetic. We are not providing such kind of facilities in the here for providing or for boosting infra or boosting the domestic or industrial manufacturing sector. Because of these challenges, we are facing the main issue, that is the cost. The cost is very high in the production sector and the manufacturing sector. Then the competitive advantage that is actually largely affected when we are actually trading with other countries. Especially China and Vietnam, they are efficient in the production function. That is because of their technological breakthrough. That is because of their technological productivity. That is because of their large infrastructure facilities. But in the same time, in Indian economy, this technical breakthrough or technological breakthrough or productivity, that is very low. That is because of the low infrastructure facilities. Then we are having a large skilled talent youngsters in India, and median age of the Indian population is below 30. Even though we are not actually coming into the front runner in the global market, definitely we have to channelize this productive labor force or this labor force into the productive labor force that we have to provide. That means we have to make them trained, we have to provide them training, we have to groom them as well. Then only we can make a human capital. So that is very important. Rather than the physical capital, human capital is very important player in Indian economy for making such kind of a competitive advantage in the global scenario.
So, what I understand is India has the human capital, but it fails to use it. Okay, moving on to the next question. Another theme that always comes up is growth and sustainability. How can India balance these both?
The growth is very good concept, and the manufacturing base and the industrial growth, that is very important concept, because definitely these are the major drivers of our economy. But at the same time, the growth should not be at the cost of environment. Growth should not be at the cost of economic welfare. Growth should not be at the cost of this type of environmental factors. That means we have to consider the social cost while we are accounting the economic cost. In the economic cost, definitely we should attain the economic growth in terms of GDP numbers. Yeah, 6% or 7% or 8%. That the growth attainment is very, very important. But at the same time, we have to consider the green initiatives. Definitely, we have to incorporate the manufacturing, sustainable manufacturing practices. When we just look into the Adani, their initiative is actually clean initiative, green initiative, energy initiative. That is very important that we have to incorporate in the further manufacturing practices that we are doing in every business. In every business, not only the manufacturing sector, but also in other sectors as well. Definitely, we have to consider the environmental cost. If you are looking at the environmental cost, social accounting practice that we have to entertain in any type of economic accounting, any type of GDP. That's why we are actually looking to the green GDP. That is a new concept. Green GDP is actually the GDP that we have to incorporate the environmental considerations or the social cost or the this type of environmental initiatives. Definitely, in the coming future, we have to consider this type of environment and the climate change, this type of things that we should look into. So while we are concluding that, we need to achieve the growth, but at the same time, the growth has to be balanced. When the growth has to be balanced, the environmental cost that has to be incorporated in accounting the national GDP or the domestic GDP.
And finally, if you had to summarize India's economic playbook in one line, what would that be?
Frankly, I cannot say in one line because it's a long answer I need to say. Because India, we don't know. We actually already said that we are in a growth momentum for the last couple of years, especially 2014. We are in the growth momentum, and we are having dominant in many industries and many service oriented sectors, especially IT and ITS related services, financial services, financial consultancy firms, and these are all we think we have already achieved. We have attained a high dominance in this type of firms and the type of business, and but at the same time we are actually lacking in the infrastructure, and we are lacking in terms of providing the employment opportunities in the rural development for making the rural upliftment, and reduce the unemployment in our economy, and reduce the poverty, especially multidimensional poverty. So these are the problems that we actually go around in
Mhm.
our society.
Yes.
When we are looking into the global scenario, when we are looking into the attainment of the growth achievement in the global outlook, definitely we have to look back to our national economy, to look back our regional side, and look back our welfare of nation in terms of employment, in terms of reduction of multidimensional poverty, in terms of enhancement of economic welfare, in terms of enhancement of rural development, in terms of enhancement of this type of social inclusiveness. That I already said in our earlier questions. Social inclusivity, that is very important. When we attain the growth, definitely we have to include all Indians. We are actually having a 140 to 140 core population are here actually. So inclusive is very important. Inclusive development is very important. When we attain the development, that the fruits of development, the fruits of growth, that should be given to all the population without any kind of discrimination, without any kind of social discrimination, any kind of economic discrimination. Then only we can attain the balanced or the sustainable the level of development. Sustainability, that is very important. It is not in terms of environment. It is not in terms of climate change. The sustainability, that is a word that we have to quote in terms of providing the growth fruits, the fruits of growth that should reach to the bottom level of the nation. Then only we can attain the balanced level of development.
That is really insightful, and that is the exact philosophy that we believe in Deutsche as well, to help leaders structure their expansion sustainably and legally sound and globally competitive. So thank you so much, Professor Teeson, for joining us and sharing such valuable insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and hope this session will be great helpful for business and economic enthusiasts. Thank you very much.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning into the second episode of the Growth Dialogue by Deutsche. We will continue bringing you the conversation with the people who are shaping the future of business, law, and global strategy. This is Pooja Kalyan signing off.